David Chen disappeared on October 17, 2009, during a solo research expedition in North Cascades National Park, Washington. The 28-year-old environmental science graduate student from the University of Washington was conducting field research for his master's thesis on climate change, impacts in alpine ecosystems, when he vanished without a trace. According to university records, Chen had been enrolled in the environmental science program since 2007, focusing his studies on glacial retreat patterns in the Pacific Northwest. His academic advisor, Dr. Patricia Morrison, described him as a dedicated student with extensive outdoor experience. David was methodical about his research and safety protocols, Morrison stated in a 2009 interview with local media. He had completed multiple solo expeditions in the region and always maintained regular contact schedules. Chen's family background provided additional context to his academic pursuits. His parents, Wei Ming Chen and Lin Chen, immigrated to Seattle from Taiwan in 1978, 3 years before David's birth. Wei Ming worked as an electrical engineer for Boeing, while Lin managed bookkeeping for several small businesses in the International District. According to his younger sister Sarah Chen, now Sarah Martinez, the family emphasized education and hard work. "My parents always encouraged us to pursue our goals, but they worried about David's mountain expeditions," Sarah recalled during a recent interview. "They supported his academic work, but didn't fully understand why he needed to go alone into such remote areas." Employment records from REI Co-op show that Chen worked part-time as a climbing gear specialist from 2006 to 2009, supplementing his graduate student income. Store manager Rick Thompson remembered Chen as knowledgeable and safety-conscious. "David knew his equipment inside and out," Thompson said. "Customers trusted his recommendations because he field-tested everything himself. He wasn't the type to take unnecessary risks." Chen's climbing experience was documented through various mountaineering organizations. He held certifications in wilderness first aid and alpine rescue techniques from the Mountaineers Club. Club records indicate he completed their basic and intermediate climbing courses in 2005 and 2006, followed by advanced alpine skills training. Fellow club member Jennifer Walsh described him as technically proficient, but sometimes overly focused on his research objectives. "David approached climbing like he approached his studies. Very systematic," Walsh noted. "He kept detailed logs of every trip, including weather conditions, route variations, and wildlife observations." The relationship with his girlfriend, Emma Rodriguez, provided insight into Chen's personal life during the months leading up to his disappearance. Rodriguez, then a nursing student at Seattle University, had dated Chen for approximately 2 years. According to her statement to police, Chen had become increasingly focused on completing his thesis research during 2009. He felt pressure to finish his fieldwork before winter weather made the high-elevation sites inaccessible, Rodriguez told investigators. "We had discussed waiting until the following spring, but David was concerned about missing graduation timelines." University financial aid records show that Chen received a research grant of $3,500 in August 2009 to support his thesis project. The grant funding covered equipment, permits, and travel expenses for multiple field trips to various North Cascades locations. Dr. Morrison confirmed that Chen had already completed 2 successful research expeditions earlier that summer, collecting data from sites near Mount Baker and Glacier Peak. His preliminary findings were promising, Morrison stated. The data showed measurable changes in vegetation patterns at higher elevations, which supported his hypothesis about climate impacts. Chen's preparation for the October expedition followed his established patterns, according to family members and friends. He spent several weeks researching weather forecasts, obtaining necessary permits from the National Park Service, and testing equipment. Sarah Chen Martinez recalled her brother's meticulous approach to trip planning. "David would spread maps all over our parents' dining room table and plot out every aspect of his route," she said. "He calculated distances, elevation gains, water sources, and potential camping spots. Nothing was left to chance." The specific research location Chen chose was a remote area near Blue Lake, approximately 15 miles from the nearest road access. Park Service records indicate he obtained a backcountry permit for October 14, 2009, allowing camping in the designated wilderness area. The permit application listed his research purpose as alpine vegetation surveys and photographic documentation of climate change impacts. According to the permit, Chen planned to establish a base camp near the lake and conduct day hikes to various elevation zones for data collection. Equipment lists provided by Chen's family showed comprehensive preparation for the expedition. His gear included a four-season mountaineering tent, cold weather sleeping bag rated to -20 degrees, portable stove, water filtration system, GPS device, emergency communications equipment, first aid supplies, and research tools including cameras and data collection instruments. Rodriguez confirmed that Chen had tested all equipment during previous expeditions. He never brought anything new on important trips, she stated. Everything had been used and proven reliable. Chen's departure from Seattle occurred on the morning of October 14, 2009, according to parking records at the Cascade River Road trailhead. His vehicle, a 2006 Honda CR-V, was found there 4 days later when the search began. The car contained additional supplies and equipment that Chen had not taken on the expedition, including extra food, backup batteries, and cold weather clothing. Family members confirmed this was typical behavior, as Chen often brought more supplies than needed as a safety measure. Final communications with Chen occurred on October 15, 2009, when he made a scheduled check-in call to his parents from the trailhead before beginning his hike. According to the phone records, the call lasted approximately 8 minutes and occurred at 7:23 a.m. Pacific time. Wei Ming Chen reported that his son sounded in good spirits and confirmed his planned return date of October 19th. David said the weather forecast looked favorable, and he was excited to reach the research site. Wei Ming stated in his police report. He promised to call again when he returned to his vehicle. The academic context surrounding Chen's research added significance to the timing of his expedition. University records show that thesis deadlines for spring 2010 graduation required completed fieldwork by November 2009. Dr. Morrison confirmed that Chen was aware of these constraints and had expressed some concern about weather windows closing for high-elevation research. Graduate students often feel intense pressure to complete their work within program timelines, Morrison explained. David was no exception, though he seemed to balance this pressure with appropriate safety considerations. Chen's physical condition and experience level supported his capability for the planned expedition, according to medical and training records. He maintained regular fitness routines and had completed increasingly challenging mountaineering objectives over several years. REI employment supervisor Thompson noted that Chen regularly tested gear in demanding conditions. David would come back from weekend trips with detailed feedback about equipment performance in various weather scenarios, Thompson said. He understood the demands of alpine environments and prepared accordingly. Family dynamics during the period leading up to Chen's disappearance reflected both support and concern for his academic pursuits. Sarah Chen Martinez described conversations with her parents about David's research expeditions. "My parents were proud of his dedication to school, but they wished he would choose safer research topics," she recalled. "They came from a background where academic success was highly valued, but they didn't understand the outdoor recreation culture that David had embraced." The professional relationships Chen maintained within the mountaineering community provided additional perspectives on his capabilities and decision-making. Mountaineers Club instructor Mark Stevens had worked with Chen during advanced training courses. David was technically competent and showed good judgment in controlled situations, Stevens commented. He asked thoughtful questions about risk management and seemed to understand the importance of conservative decision-making in the mountains. Chen's research methodology required extended periods in remote locations, which influenced his preference for solo expeditions. According to his thesis proposal, the study design called for detailed observations at specific sites over multiple day periods. Dr. Morrison noted that this type of research often necessitated flexible scheduling and extended field time. David's research questions required him to spend significant time at each location, documenting changes over time and in different weather conditions, Morrison explained. This type of work is often more efficiently conducted by a single researcher who can adapt the schedule as needed. The October 2009 expedition represented the culmination of Chen's graduate research, intended to provide the final data needed for his thesis completion. According to university records, Chen had already presented preliminary findings at a regional conference in September 2009, receiving positive feedback from academic peers. The success of his previous research expeditions had built confidence in both Chen and his academic advisors regarding the feasibility of the October trip. Weather conditions during the period of Chen's departure appeared favorable, according to National Weather Service records. Forecast data for the North Cascades region showed clear skies and moderate temperatures for October 15-17, with a storm system predicted to arrive on October 18th. This forecast alignment supported Chen's planned 5-day expedition timeline, providing a comfortable margin before deteriorating conditions. The research site Chen selected near Blue Lake represented familiar territory, as he had visited the general area during previous expeditions. Park Service records showed he had obtained permits for nearby locations during his summer 2009 research trips. This familiarity with the region likely influenced his confidence in undertaking the solo expedition and his detailed preparation for the specific route and camping locations. David Chen failed to make his scheduled return contact on October 19, 2009, triggering the initial missing person report that would launch one of the most extensive search operations in North Cascades National Park history. When Chen did not call his parents by 8 p.m. as planned and failed to respond to multiple attempts to reach his cell phone, his family contacted park authorities the following morning. Wei Ming Chen placed the first official call to the National Park Service at 6:15 a.m. on October 20, 2009, according to dispatch records. The conversation, conducted partly through his daughter Sarah, who assisted with translation, established that David had been overdue for approximately 14 hours. Park Ranger Lisa McKenzie, who took the initial report, noted that while 14 hours represented a relatively short overdue period, Chen's established pattern of punctual communication raised immediate concern among experienced park staff. David was known to park personnel from his previous permit applications, McKenzie stated in her incident report. His history showed consistent adherence to check-in schedules and conservative safety practices. The fact that he missed his planned contact time was immediately flagged as unusual behavior for this particular individual. The formal search activation occurred at 10:30 a.m. on October 20th, when Park Superintendent Robert Hayes authorized a Level 2 search and rescue operation. This designation, according to park protocols, indicated a missing person case with elevated risk factors, including solo travel, alpine terrain, and approaching weather concerns. The National Weather Service had updated its forecast to show a significant storm system approaching the region, with snow predicted above 4,000 feet elevation beginning October 21st. Initial search efforts focused on the Cascade River Road trailhead, where Chen's Honda CR-V remained parked. Vehicle inspection revealed no signs of disturbance, with Chen's extra supplies and backup equipment still secured inside. Park Service records indicate that trailhead registration showed Chen had signed in on October 15th at 7:45 a.m., approximately 20 minutes after his final phone call to family. The registration matched his permit information and planned route toward Blue Lake. Search and Rescue Coordinator Maria Santos assembled a response team consisting of 12 experienced volunteers from Skagit County Search and Rescue, supported by 4 Park Service Rangers with specialized alpine rescue training. Santos, a 15-year veteran of mountain rescue operations, implemented a systematic search pattern based on Chen's declared route and known camping preferences. We began with high-probability areas along his intended path, working outward in expanding grids, Santos explained in her operational summary. The first day of active searching, October 20th, covered approximately 8 miles of established trail between the trailhead and Blue Lake area. Search teams found no immediate evidence of Chen's passage, though rangers noted that recent rainfall had likely obscured footprints and other trace evidence. Weather conditions remained favorable for search operations, with clear visibility and temperatures in the 40-degree range at elevation. Family members gathered at the Park Visitor Center to provide additional information and coordinate communication efforts. Sarah Chen Martinez recalled the tense atmosphere as search teams prepared their equipment. The Rangers were very professional and thorough in their questions about David's habits and capabilities, she said. They wanted to understand his decision-making patterns and any potential route variations he might have chosen. Dr. Patricia Morrison, Chen's academic advisor, provided detailed information about his research objectives and methodology to help searchers understand potential destinations. According to Morrison's statement to park authorities, Chen's study required access to specific elevation zones and vegetation types that might have influenced his route selection. David's research sites were not necessarily located along established trails, Morrison noted. His work sometimes required him to travel cross-country to reach optimal observation points. Emma Rodriguez joined the family at the Search Coordination Center, providing insights into Chen's recent emotional state and any concerns he might have expressed. According to her statement to investigators, Chen had seemed excited and confident about the expedition during their last conversation on October 13th. David had spent weeks preparing for this trip, Rodriguez told park personnel. He seemed more focused and determined than usual, not stressed or worried about anything specific. Search operations expanded on October 21st as weather conditions began to deteriorate according to predicted patterns. Snow began falling above 5,000 feet elevation, with temperatures dropping into the 30-degree range. Search coordinator Santos made the decision to deploy helicopter resources while visibility remained adequate. The Washington State Patrol helicopter conducted aerial reconnaissance of the Blue Lake area and surrounding terrain, covering approximately 20 square miles of potential search area. Aerial observations revealed no immediate signs of Chen's presence, though crew members noted several potential camping locations that required ground team investigation. The helicopter crew documented GPS coordinates for follow-up searches, including areas where equipment or shelter might not be visible from the air due to tree cover or terrain features. Ground search teams continued systematic coverage of established trails and known camping areas. Search volunteer Jim Patterson, who had participated in multiple park rescue operations, described the challenging terrain conditions. The area around Blue Lake involves significant elevation gain and loss, with multiple route options once you leave the main trail, Patterson stated. Someone with David's experience might have chosen less obvious paths to reach research locations. Communication efforts included attempts to reach Chen through various channels. Park personnel used emergency radio frequencies to broadcast messages requesting response from anyone in the search area. Cell phone companies provided tower data, showing Chen's last known signal location, which corresponded with the trailhead area on October 15th. No subsequent cellular activity was detected from his phone number. The search operation faced its first major weather challenge on October 22nd, when a winter storm system brought sustained snowfall and wind conditions that grounded helicopter support. Snow accumulation reached 6 inches at 4,000 feet elevation, with higher elevations receiving up to 18 inches according to weather station data. Visibility dropped to less than a quarter mile in many areas, severely limiting search effectiveness. Family members maintained constant presence at the Search Coordination Center, providing support for ongoing operations and media inquiries. Local television stations began covering the story on October 22nd, with King 5 News conducting interviews with Chen's parents and university colleagues. The media attention brought additional volunteer support, with experienced mountaineers from throughout the region offering assistance. We received more than 30 offers of volunteer help within the first 48 hours of media coverage, Search Coordinator Santos noted. The climbing community in the Pacific Northwest is very tight-knit, and David's case resonated with people who understood the risks and challenges of alpine research. University of Washington officials issued a statement on October 23rd, expressing support for search efforts and Chen's family. The statement, released through the Environmental Science Department, emphasized Chen's dedication to his research and his reputation for safety-conscious practices. Dr. Morrison served as the primary university contact with park authorities, providing ongoing consultation about Chen's research objectives and potential destinations. Search strategy evolved on October 24th as teams adapted to persistent weather challenges. Santos implemented a modified grid system focusing on areas most likely to provide shelter during severe weather conditions. We shifted emphasis toward locations where someone caught in a storm might seek protection, Santos explained. This included cave systems, rock overhangs, and dense forest areas that could provide wind protection. Additional resources arrived on October 25th in the form of specialized search dogs trained for avalanche and wilderness recovery. The K9 units, provided by Mountain Rescue Association teams from British Columbia, offered capabilities for detecting human scent in challenging weather conditions. Dog handler Patricia Williams noted that recent snowfall complicated scent detection, but didn't eliminate the possibility of finding evidence. Search teams discovered the first potential evidence on October 26th, when volunteers found remnants of a campfire approximately 2 miles from Blue Lake. The fire remains showed signs of recent use, though exact timing could not be determined due to weather exposure. Park investigators collected samples for analysis, though no definitive connection to Chen could be established from the physical evidence alone. Finding evidence of recent human activity in such a remote area was significant, Santos stated. However, we couldn't definitively link the campfire to David without additional corroborating evidence. The site became a focus point for expanded searching in that immediate area. Family stress intensified as the search entered its second week without concrete leads. Wei-Ming Chen required medical attention for stress-related symptoms on October 27th, though he remained at the search center after treatment. Sarah Chen Martinez coordinated family communication efforts and served as primary liaison with media representatives. My parents were struggling with the language barriers and the uncertainty, Martinez recalled. They needed someone to help them understand the search process and communicate with all the different agencies involved. Weather conditions continued to hamper search effectiveness throughout the final week of October. Snowpack above 4,000 feet reached depths of 3 feet, making backcountry travel extremely hazardous for search teams. Avalanche risk assessments conducted by certified specialists indicated dangerous conditions on slopes above 30 degrees, eliminating several potential search areas from safe access. The search operation transitioned to sustained mode on October 30th, with reduced daily team deployment, but continued monitoring of weather and avalanche conditions. Park Superintendent Hayes explained the decision in a press conference, emphasizing that search efforts would continue but adapt to seasonal realities. We remain committed to finding David Chen, Hayes stated. However, we must balance our search efforts with the safety of rescue personnel as winter conditions establish themselves in the high country. Technology resources expanded search capabilities during early November, as park authorities obtained access to military-grade thermal imaging equipment. The specialized sensors, capable of detecting heat signatures through snow cover, were deployed via helicopter during brief weather windows. Multiple thermal surveys covered priority areas identified through previous search efforts, though no significant findings resulted from the thermal detection flights. Community support for the Chen family remained strong throughout November, with local climbing organizations establishing a fund to support extended search efforts. The Mountaineers Club organized volunteer coordination and provided specialized equipment for continuing search operations. Club member Jennifer Walsh helped coordinate meal preparation and family support services. The climbing community understood that David could be any one of us, Walsh noted. Everyone wanted to help bring him home safely. Search operations faced a critical decision point in mid-November, as sustained winter weather established dangerous conditions throughout the search area. Avalanche hazard ratings reached considerable levels on most slopes, with high ratings on specific aspects and elevations. Professional avalanche forecasters advised suspension of ground search activities until spring snow conditions stabilized. The formal transition to suspended pending weather improvement status occurred on November 18, 2009, though park authorities emphasized that the case remained active and search efforts would resume when conditions permitted. Search Coordinator Santos conducted final briefings with family members, outlining plans for spring resumption of operations. This decision was extremely difficult for everyone involved, Santos stated. However, we could not justify exposing search personnel to the extreme avalanche risks that had developed throughout the area. Chen's family faced the approaching holiday season with their son's fate unresolved. Sarah Chen Martinez described the emotional challenge of maintaining hope while accepting the practical limitations imposed by mountain weather. We understood why the search had to be suspended, but it didn't make the uncertainty any easier to bear, Martinez said. The holidays were especially difficult that year, with David's empty place at every family gathering. Media coverage during the suspended search period focused on the broader context of wilderness safety and the challenges facing search and rescue operations in alpine environments. Seattle Times reporter Michael Stevens wrote extensively about the Chen case, highlighting the dedication of volunteer search personnel and the emotional toll on families facing uncertainty. Stevens' reporting brought continued public attention to the case and maintained pressure for resumed search efforts when weather permitted. The case file remained active throughout the winter months, with park investigators reviewing all collected evidence and maintaining contact with Chen's family. Regular briefings provided updates on weather conditions and planning for spring search resumption. The investigation expanded to include interviews with other researchers and climbers who had visited the Blue Lake area during 2009, seeking any additional information about conditions or unusual observations in the region. On July 18, 2024, climate researcher Dr. Amanda Foster made a discovery that would reopen the David Chen case after 15 years of dormancy. Foster, conducting glacial retreat documentation for the University of Washington Climate Impact Group, found a weathered piece of paper emerging from the retreating edge of Blue Glacier, approximately 3 miles from Chen's last known research location. "I initially thought it was just debris, but the paper appeared to have writing on it," Foster stated in her report to park authorities. "Given the remote location and the fact that it was emerging from glacial ice, I recognized this could be significant evidence." Foster photographed the item in place before carefully removing it using sterile collection techniques learned from archaeological fieldwork. The handwritten note, measuring approximately 4 inches by 6 inches, contained text identified through handwriting analysis as matching samples from Chen's research journals. Whatcom County Sheriff's Forensics Laboratory confirmed the handwriting match on August 3, 2024, using comparative analysis with documents provided by Chen's family and the University of Washington. Detective Maria Santos, now serving as cold case supervisor for the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, took lead responsibility for the reopened investigation. Santos had maintained the Chen file throughout her career transition from search and rescue coordinator to law enforcement detective. "This case has stayed with me for 15 years, Santos stated. "When the note was discovered, I immediately recognized the potential significance for David's family and the investigation." The note's content, written in blue ink on notebook paper, contained the message: "Day 4. Wrong trail yesterday, weather turning, staying put until clear. GPS shows 2.3 miles NE of target. If found, tell family I love them. DC 1018. The date notation and initials corresponded to October 18, 2009, 3 days after Chen's planned departure, and 1 day before his scheduled return. The message indicates David was alive and conscious on October 18th, which aligned with our weather records showing the major storm arrival," Santos explained. "More importantly, it suggests he had deviated from his planned route and was attempting to wait out dangerous weather conditions." Sarah Chen Martinez received notification of the discovery on August 5, 2024, during a phone call from Detective Santos. Martinez, now 41, and living in Portland with her husband and 2 children, had maintained regular contact with investigating authorities throughout the years. "I never gave up hope that we would learn something about what happened to David," Martinez said. When Detective Santos called about the note, it felt surreal after all these years. The Chen family's reaction combined relief at having concrete evidence of David's survival beyond October 15th with renewed grief about his ultimate fate. Wei-Ming Chen, now 78, and Lin Chen, 75, traveled from their Seattle home to meet with investigators and examine the note firsthand. Seeing David's handwriting again after 15 years was both wonderful and heartbreaking, Lin Chen stated through her daughter's translation. Dr. Patricia Morrison, Chen's former academic advisor and now department chair, provided additional context for understanding the note's implications. The GPS reference suggests David had his equipment functioning on October 18th, Morrison noted. The fact that he was 2.3 miles northeast of his target location indicates he may have taken an alternate route or become disoriented during the initial weather deterioration. Forensic analysis of the paper and ink provided additional investigative leads. The Washington State Crime Laboratory determined that the paper matched notebooks found in Chen's vehicle, confirming the note's authenticity. Ink analysis showed characteristics consistent with the Pilot G2 pens recovered from Chen's gear, though degradation from 15 years of ice exposure limited detailed comparison. New search area calculations based on the GPS coordinates mentioned in the note identified previously unsearched terrain, approximately 4 miles from the original Blue Lake focus area. Geographic information system analysis conducted by the National Park Service showed this location featured several natural shelter formations, including rock overhangs and dense forest coverage that could provide storm protection. The GPS coordinates in David's note opened up an entirely new search area that hadn't been prioritized during the original operation, Detective Santos explained. Our 2009 search was based on his planned route, but this evidence showed he had traveled significantly off course before the major weather event. Ground-penetrating radar equipment, unavailable during the original search, was deployed to the new target area in September 2024. The technology, capable of detecting buried objects through soil and debris, covered approximately 2 square miles of terrain identified through the GPS coordinate analysis. Initial radar sweeps identified several subsurface anomalies requiring physical investigation. Emma Rodriguez, Chen's former girlfriend, and now a registered nurse in Tacoma, learned of the discovery through social media coverage before receiving official notification. Rodriguez had married in 2013 and had 2 children, but maintained that Chen's disappearance had affected her deeply. I always wondered what David's last days were like, Rodriguez said. The note provided some answers but also raised new questions about whether he could have been found if we had searched the right area. Advanced weather modeling technology allowed investigators to reconstruct conditions in the target area during October 18 to 20, 2009. National Weather Service meteorologist Dr. James Mitchell analyzed historical data to understand the storm's progression and impact on Chen's location. The weather deteriorated rapidly in that area on October 18th, with wind speeds exceeding 60 mph and temperatures dropping below freezing, Mitchell reported. Visibility would have been severely limited, making navigation extremely difficult. Search teams returned to the field in October 2024, focusing on the coordinates and terrain features referenced in Chen's note. Modern search technology included thermal imaging drones, advanced GPS mapping, and improved communication systems. 15 experienced volunteers from various search and rescue organizations participated in the renewed effort, many having participated in the original 2009 operation. Technology advances over the past 15 years gave us capabilities we didn't have in 2009, explained current search and rescue coordinator Jake Thompson. Drone technology alone allowed us to survey terrain that would have required days of dangerous ground travel during the original search. The investigation expanded to include interviews with other climbers and researchers who had visited the region during 2009, seeking additional information about trail conditions and potential route variations. Park Service records identified 12 other permit holders who had accessed the Blue Lake area between September and November 2009, though most had used different routes than Chen's planned approach. Archaeological techniques were applied to the search effort, with University of Washington graduate students in anthropology volunteering to assist with systematic site investigation. The interdisciplinary approach combined traditional search and rescue methods with scientific documentation procedures designed to preserve evidence and maintain detailed records of all findings. Dr. Foster's continued glacier monitoring revealed that climate change had accelerated ice retreat in the area, potentially exposing additional evidence that had been frozen for 15 years. The same climate changes that David was studying may have preserved his note and could reveal other evidence, Foster noted. It's both ironic and appropriate that his research subject ultimately led to this discovery. Family dynamics evolved as the renewed investigation progressed. Sarah Chen Martinez took primary responsibility for communicating with media and coordinating family responses to investigative developments. Her parents, while grateful for renewed attention to the case, struggled with the emotional impact of reliving events from 15 years earlier. My parents are in their late 70s now, Martinez explained. They want answers about David, but the process is physically and emotionally exhausting for them. The case attracted attention from cold case specialists and forensic experts throughout the Pacific Northwest. Dr. Linda Chen, a forensic anthropologist at Washington State University and no relation to the missing man, offered consultation services for evidence analysis. Cases involving environmental preservation of evidence present unique opportunities and challenges, Dr. Chen noted. Ice can preserve materials that would normally decompose, but it can also contaminate or alter evidence in unexpected ways. Media coverage of the reopened case brought forward several individuals who claimed to have information about Chen's disappearance. Detective Santos carefully evaluated each lead, though most proved to be either mistaken memories or attention-seeking behavior. High-profile cold cases often generate numerous tips from well-meaning people, but also attract individuals who want to insert themselves into the investigation, Santos explained. University of Washington officials expressed renewed interest in supporting the investigation, recognizing that Chen's case highlighted ongoing safety concerns for researchers working in remote locations. Graduate school policies had evolved since 2009 to require more comprehensive safety protocols for solo fieldwork, partly influenced by lessons learned from Chen's disappearance. The breakthrough in the David Chen case came on November 12, 2024, when search teams using ground-penetrating radar detected a significant subsurface anomaly in the coordinates area identified from Chen's note. The discovery occurred during the fourth week of renewed search operations, led by Detective Maria Santos and supported by advanced technology unavailable during the original 2009 investigation. Search and rescue coordinator Jake Thompson directed the excavation team that uncovered Chen's remains beneath approximately 18 inches of soil and organic debris. The location, situated under a natural rock overhang approximately 2.4 miles northeast of Blue Lake, matched the GPS coordinates referenced in Chen's recovered note with remarkable accuracy. David had found what appeared to be an ideal shelter location, Thompson stated in his operational report. The rock formation provided protection from wind and precipitation, which explains why he chose to wait out the storm there. Forensic examination conducted by Whatcom County Coroner, Dr. Patricia Williams, confirmed the identity through dental records and personal effects recovered at the site. Chen's remains showed no evidence of external trauma, supporting the hypothesis that he had succumbed to exposure during the October 2009 storm system. The physical evidence suggests David survived for several days after writing the note, Dr. Williams reported. His death appears to have resulted from hypothermia during the prolonged severe weather event. The excavation site revealed a carefully organized campsite, indicating Chen had maintained his methodical approach to wilderness survival, even under extreme stress. Personal effects recovered included his sleeping bag, tent remnants, research equipment, cameras with undeveloped film, and additional notebook pages documenting his final days. The arrangement suggested Chen had made deliberate efforts to preserve his research materials and personal items. Chen's camera equipment, protected by waterproof cases, contained images that provided crucial insights into his final expedition. Digital photos showed Chen at various research locations between October 15–18, 2009, documenting vegetation changes and glacial features consistent with his thesis research objectives. The final photos, dated October 18th, showed deteriorating weather conditions and Chen's shelter setup under the rock overhang, where his remains were ultimately discovered. Additional notebook entries found at the site revealed Chen's decision-making process during the crisis. According to handwritten logs, Chen had initially attempted to continue toward his planned research location on October 16th, but encountered unexpected terrain difficulties that forced route modifications. Weather deteriorating faster than forecast. Read one entry dated October 17th. Modified route to avoid exposed ridges. GPS shows good shelter ahead. The notebook documentation showed Chen had maintained detailed records through October 20th, indicating he survived at least 2 days beyond his scheduled return date. His final entries described rationing food supplies and attempting to conserve body heat as temperatures dropped below freezing. Staying calm, waiting for weather window, Chen wrote in his last dated entry. Family knows I love them. Research data secured. Dr. Patricia Morrison, Chen's former academic advisor, examined the recovered research materials and confirmed they contained valuable scientific data, despite the 15-year exposure. David's dedication to his work continued even under life-threatening circumstances, Morrison stated. His final observations provided documentation of climate conditions that proved relevant to current research initiatives. The Chen family received notification of the discovery on November 13, 2024, during a meeting at the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office. Sarah Chen Martinez described the complex emotions of finally learning her brother's fate after 15 years of uncertainty. There was relief in having answers, but also profound sadness that David died alone in such difficult circumstances, Martinez said. At least we knew he had survived longer than we originally feared, and that he was thinking of us during his final days. Wei Ming Chen and Lin Chen, now both in declining health, attended the notification meeting with support from family members and a Mandarin interpreter. Wei Ming Chen's statement, translated by his daughter, expressed gratitude for the persistence of search personnel and investigators. "We always hoped to bring David home," he said. "Now we can give him proper rest and honor his memory appropriately." Emma Rodriguez learned of the discovery through Detective Santos's personal notification call. Rodriguez, who had maintained contact with the Chen family throughout the years, expressed mixed emotions about the resolution. "I felt grateful that the family finally had closure, but heartbroken thinking about David's final days alone in the mountains," Rodriguez stated. It was exactly the kind of situation he had always been so careful to avoid. The recovery operation required specialized equipment and personnel due to the remote location and challenging terrain. A helicopter from the Washington State Patrol transported Chen's remains and personal effects to the county coroner's facility for formal examination. The entire recovery process took 3 days to complete, with careful documentation of the site and surrounding area. Forensic analysis of Chen's equipment provided insights into his survival efforts and the progression of the weather emergency. His GPS device, still functional when discovered, contained waypoint data showing his route deviation and multiple attempts to find suitable shelter. Temperature sensors in his equipment recorded conditions dropping to -15 degrees Fahrenheit during the storm peak, well beyond the survival limits of his cold weather gear. The investigation revealed that Chen's route modification had been a reasonable response to deteriorating conditions, though it ultimately led him away from areas that would be searched by rescue teams. David made logical decisions based on the information available to him, Detective Santos explained. His survival instincts were sound, but the severity and duration of the storm exceeded what anyone could have predicted. University of Washington officials conducted a comprehensive review of Chen's case to identify lessons for current wilderness research safety protocols. The review, led by Dr. Morrison and campus safety specialists, resulted in updated requirements for emergency communication equipment and mandatory check-in procedures for solo research expeditions. David's experience highlighted the importance of redundant safety systems and more frequent communication requirements, Morrison noted in the safety review report. The National Park Service implemented new search protocols based on lessons learned from the Chen case and the 15-year investigation. Park Superintendent Jennifer Walsh, who had participated in the original 2009 search as a volunteer, emphasized the importance of expanding search areas beyond planned routes when dealing with experienced outdoor enthusiasts. David's case taught us that skilled individuals may make reasonable route modifications that take them outside our initial search parameters, Walsh stated. Memorial service planning began immediately following the official identification, with the Chen family working to organize a ceremony that would honor David's memory and provide closure for the many people who had participated in search efforts over the years. Sarah Chen Martinez coordinated with various organizations, including the University of Washington, the Mountaineers Club, and search and rescue volunteers who had maintained interest in the case. The Mountaineers Club established the David Chen Research Safety Fund to support improved emergency equipment for student researchers conducting fieldwork in remote locations. Club member Jennifer Walsh, who had known Chen personally, spearheaded the fundraising effort. David's dedication to both safety and scientific research exemplified the values our organization promotes, Walsh explained. This fund ensures his legacy continues to protect future researchers. Dr. Amanda Foster, whose Glacier research led to the discovery of Chen's note, continued monitoring the Blue Glacier area for additional evidence that might emerge as ice retreat accelerated. Climate change created the conditions that preserved David's note for 15 years and may reveal other evidence in the future, Foster noted. It's a sobering reminder of how environmental changes affect both past and present. The recovered research data from Chen's final expedition contributed to ongoing climate studies at the University of Washington. Dr. Morrison incorporated Chen's observations into current research projects, ensuring that his work would contribute to scientific understanding, despite the tragic circumstances. David's final data points provided valuable historical context for measuring environmental changes over the past 15 years. Morrison stated, "Legal proceedings began to formally close the missing person case and transfer Chen's remains to family custody." Whatcom County Prosecutor Lisa Johnson praised the investigation's thoroughness and the collaboration between multiple agencies over the 15-year period. This case demonstrates the importance of never giving up on missing persons investigations, Johnson stated. Technology and persistence combined to provide answers that seemed impossible 15 years ago. The Chen family's attorney, Michael Stevens, worked to resolve estate matters that had remained complicated by David's missing status. Chen's research materials, including both recovered items and previous work, were donated to the University of Washington archives, where they would remain available for future scientific research. David would have wanted his work to continue benefiting scientific understanding, Sarah Chen Martinez explained. Mental health support services were provided to family members and others affected by the case resolution. The 15-year period of uncertainty had taken a significant toll on those closest to Chen, and professional counseling helped process the complex emotions surrounding the discovery. Finally, having answers was helpful, but it also meant accepting that David was really gone, Martinez noted. Media coverage of the case resolution emphasized both the dedication of search and rescue personnel and the advancing role of technology in cold case investigations. Seattle Times reporter Michael Stevens, who had covered the story since 2009, wrote extensively about the investigation's evolution and the impact on everyone involved. The Chen case shows how persistence, technology, and community support can eventually provide answers, even in the most challenging circumstances, Stevens reported. Search and rescue organizations throughout the Pacific Northwest reviewed their protocols based on lessons learned from both the original search and the successful resolution. The case became a training example for understanding how experienced outdoor enthusiasts might deviate from planned routes during emergency situations. David's case taught us to think beyond the obvious search areas when dealing with skilled individuals facing crisis decisions, noted Mountain Rescue Association trainer Robert Hayes. The final report on Chen's case, completed by Detective Santos in December 2024, documented the comprehensive investigation and provided recommendations for future missing person cases in wilderness environments. The report emphasized the importance of preserving evidence, maintaining active case files, and leveraging technological advances as they become available. David's case reminded us that cold cases can be solved with persistence, new technology, and sometimes unexpected discoveries like the Glacier note, Santos concluded. Funeral arrangements were finalized for January 2025, allowing the Chen family to hold the memorial service they had been unable to conduct 15 years earlier. The ceremony would include recognition of search and rescue volunteers, university colleagues, and climbing community members who had maintained hope throughout the investigation. David can finally come home, Sarah Chen Martinez stated. Our family can have the closure we've needed for 15 years. The University of Washington announced plans to establish a research fellowship in Chen's name, supporting graduate students conducting climate research in alpine environments. The fellowship would include funding for advanced safety equipment and training, ensuring that future researchers could pursue important scientific work while minimizing risks. David's passion for understanding climate change deserves to be continued by future generations of researchers, Dr. Morrison explained. The David Chen case officially closed on December 20, 2024, 15 years, 2 months, and 3 days after his initial disappearance. Detective Santos filed the final report with satisfaction that justice had been served through persistence and technological advancement. David's family deserved answers, and I'm grateful we were able to provide them, Santos stated. This case will always remind me why we never give up on missing persons investigations. The resolution brought peace to many who had been touched by Chen's story. His legacy continued through improved safety protocols, ongoing research, and the memory of a dedicated young scientist who pursued important work despite the risks. The mountains that had claimed his life also preserved the evidence that eventually brought him home to his family.